Hello, I am Bookface.
Happy Halloween!
And this year we're talking about
Zombies.
a classic form of undead. It takes a lot of different weird forms that I also actually talked about in the very second video I've ever done.
Praise.
Back when the scariest thing about my videos was the audio quality. Oh wait, it still is. And with that out of the way, let's jump right in.
Woo!
The legend of the zombie is commonly traced back to East African folklore, where it was eventually brought to Haiti. Spoiler alert, the reason for that happening is, very bad. The word zombie is thought to have originated in Haiti, where it was called zombie in French and zombie in Haitian Creole. Zombies were corpses brought back to life, typically through forms of magic. They were raised from the grave by a bokor or kaplata, who were kinds of witches in voodoo myth, who were opposed by the Algan and Mambo, which were priests and priestesses of voodoo culture. This magic, however, only resurrected the person physically, but they would not have any mind of their own, and were totally subject to the sorcerer's will. So basically, they're alive, but no thoughts, head empty, much like me. The zombie can also exist in a spirit form, which can be used by the bokor to gain more power or sold in a bottle for luck, healing, or success. Bottle of zombie, get your bottle of zombie here. Non-GMO, unethically sourced, like most things. This form of zombie was seen as an aspect of the soul, which are eventually reclaimed by God, making them only temporary. Ah yes, I see these zombies have an expiration date. Funny considering technically they already have expired. The two coexist, with the idea that both exist due to the absence of the other, with the physical kind missing its soul and the incorporeal kind missing its body. It was also thought that a zombie could be saved by being fed salt. Okay, but what exactly does saved mean in this context? Did they come back to life if you fed them salt? Or were they just a corpse that acted like a corpse? Poke a stick and find out. Poke a stick. Poke them with a stick, see if they're still alive. Or not alive, undead. This is confusing. But despite all this that we do know, there's a lot of things that we aren't quite sure, and there are many similar myths which can be traced back to the origin of what a zombie is. People often relate the word zombie to nzambi. It makes more sense when it's spelled, which is a word for a god in the Congo language, and zumbi, which is a word for a fetish, which is an item with supernatural power. Get your mind out of the gutter, not that kind of fetish. They are also related to a spirit-like being called a jumbi from African myth, which are Caribbean ghost demon-like things. There are also creatures called Shidachane in Sotho and Sangha cultures and Maduk Swane in Venda cultures. Definitely pronounced that correctly. In South Africa, some actually believe that witches would kill people to make zombies they would then use as slaves. That's a much more proactive approach to getting zombies. Not enough dead to raise, just
Make some more of them.
this is big brain time. And after railroads came to South Africa, people would talk about witch trains that were run entirely by zombies and would abduct people into the night and turn them into zombies as well. Just imagine going to get a train, doors open, nothing but zombies, including the conductor. It's kind of, my bad, guys. I was supposed to get on the other train. This seems to be the train going to Nopeville. That's not where I was heading. I'm gonna take the other train. Bye! Okay, now time for the serious part of the video. Because we can't just have good myth. It has to include awful real-world stuff. Because along with the zombie legend being a product of African folklore, as well as Haitian beliefs mixing together, they were also largely influenced by slavery in Haiti, since that is how the myth got there in the first place. Yes, shockingly enough, people being raised from the dead is not the most messed up part about this video. I just wanted to have a fun Halloween special. The role of a zombie was generally seen as a sort of supernatural slave, having no autonomy of its own and solely existing to serve its master. It was said by some that Baron Samedi would take the souls of the dead to the afterlife, but if they had offended him in some way, then they would remain on Earth as zombies. Because of this, in Haiti, slave drivers, who were sometimes voodoo priests, would use this idea of people becoming zombies after death, and thus eternally slaves, as a way to prevent the slaves from committing suicide. God, this video got bleak. But you have to remember history and learn from it. Let's go back to being stupid, for God's sake. Look, here's a meme. I don't know. That's the meme. Over time, though, the origins of the zombies became slightly obscured as they became far more well-known in different forms of media, where they appeared quite a bit. And I'd list a few examples, but I think I would literally be here for hours if I even tried to list a fraction of the games, movies, TV shows, and anything else that has zombies in it. So I'm just going to mention the most important one. That's right, Plants vs. Zombies is the best. Most attribute the zombies' first cinematic appearance to the movie White Zombie in 1932. Really? White Zombie? Are you serious? This seems like a really bad racist joke. Apparently, this actually wasn't a very good movie. Gasp, I never would have guessed. But it does kind of sound like they described the voodoo version of zombie, and it's not so much the later versions of zombies we have, which is surprising to me. But while this was the first movie to actually include zombies, it wasn't what really solidified them as a pop culture sort of thing. But it was instead the 1968 movie Night of the Living Dead that is typically seen as the movie that made zombies wildly popular in general. Which, fun little side note, is generally believed to be the first horror movie to have a black person lead the movie as the protagonist, which honestly feels kind of poetic. And also a good movie. Like I said though, the view of zombies changed drastically over time, becoming far less folkloric and something kind of different. And after a certain amount of time, the idea of a zombie almost changed from a matter of fantasy and horror to a almost science fiction kind of thing. These zombies, instead of being raised by any kind of dark magic, are instead affected by some kind of infection, which then very rapidly spreads. Well, that's close to home. Because of this, most modern uses of zombies in media tend to either surround a zombie apocalypse occurring or the world after it's been torn apart by a zombie apocalypse. Additionally, the idea of a zombie apocalypse has just become its own sort of thing in general, kind of separate from zombies, where I feel like the vibe is a lot less, horror, there's a monster coming, we have to run and hide, and more of a just like general drama survival thing, but also there's zombies. But with this idea of zombies being created through some kind of virus or toxin or whatever, there's a lot more people looking at it in a scientific way. In fact, some have actually hypothesized that traditional zombification, is that a word? Was actually a real process caused by inducing neurotoxins from a pufferfish and hallucinogens from various plants. Yes, just get some weed, some cocaine, and boom, you got a zombie. That'll probably make you act like a zombie. After the person is buried, since they kind of look dead, and rising in a psychotic state because of the neurotoxins, they would realize they'd been buried and believe they were a zombie. So it's just kind of like, I was buried, guess I died. Time to zombie about, I guess. Or at the very least, they would realize that they would think that they had died, and even if they realized, hey, I'm not dead, then they probably wouldn't be allowed back in society because, zombies. This is of course just a general hypothesis to explain the zombie legend in some scientific way, and while it does kind of make sense, I don't know about that. Nowadays though, it's much more common to think of zombies in a semi-scientific way. Like I said before, people typically think of zombies existing due to some sort of virus or pathogen slowly spreading to everyone, which, as we are all painfully aware, that is a real thing. And additionally, in an odd, disturbing turn of events, there are actually many articles saying a real zombie apocalypse could happen if there was some kind of virus that had mindlessness, aggression, biting, and like some kind of rabies. So not only is it a sort of scientific approach, but they're saying that it is genuinely possible a zombie apocalypse could happen with some kind of virus like this. My response is quite simple. Don't give 2020 any more ideas, for the love of God. And there you know a good bit about the origins of the zombie legend. This was a lot more intense than I expected. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be quite as depressing. Like I said before, happy Halloween. Stay safe, because there might not be a zombie virus out there, but there is still a virus out there. So wear a mask. Don't be stupid. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.